Hello, and welcome back to the Careers Mare podcast. With me, Jacob, and my colleague Jordan, we have a different guest on each episode, and we interview them about their working life and their dream job.
Yes, we do, Jacob.
Yes, and it's episode 17. Can you believe it?
I can't believe that we've done 17 episodes and we're going to do 17 more and then 17 more after that.
And is that it then? At 51, we stop.
And then, God, that was good maths. Yeah, and then that's it. And then I quit.
Well, you heard it here first. This is going to be a 51 episode wonder. We're a third of the way through, so enjoy it while it lasts. But the only problem I have is that we've done 17 episodes and it kind of feels like we should be millionaires by now. You know, what some people tend to do when they get a bit more famous, they tend to do like merch, like mugs and hats and tote bags and things like that. But we don't have any catchphrases or anything. No, I mean, I was thinking that because we've talked on a few episodes about AI taking over people's jobs and things. I thought maybe we could see. I've sort of like I've got Chat GPT open here,
Yeah.
and I've sort of preloaded it with a bit of information about the podcast and stuff. And I've said to it, we're quite keen to start cashing in on this, and so we want to produce merch with catchphrases from the podcast on them. We don't yet have any. Could you suggest some good ones? So should we fire it up and see what? And we could try them out.
Let's go, mate. Let's see
try
what
them
it
out in the
comes back
episode,
with.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already recorded the episode, so that would be tricky.
Well, yeah, that would be
But
hard,
we could record them. Maybe we record them now, and then I'll edit them in somewhere in the episode.
That could work, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm firing it up. Let's see what it says. Okay, it says creating catchphrases for Careers Mare could emphasize the humor, diversity of careers, and the insightful yet casual tone of the podcast. Here are some suggestions that could resonate with your audience and potentially make for memorable merch. I haven't looked at them yet. I'm not going to look at it first. I'm just going to get it in front of me and read it out and try not to react.
Okay.
And you tell me how it strikes you. Would you have this on a t-shirt?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. That's a job? What do you think of that?
I like that. I like that.
It gives instructions on how to deliver that one. It says, exclaimed in disbelief or amusement upon discovering unconventional careers through their guests.
See, I especially like that when someone's talking about if they worked in like a restaurant or they're a teacher. We go, that's a job.
So maybe, just if we just do one each, just a nice clean record. So here we go.
Okay.
That's a job?
That's a job?
It does slightly conflict with our normal process for getting guests on, where generally speaking, because we've booked the guest, we already vaguely know their job.
Yeah.
It could have worked with some, actually, because say if we go back in time to episode 5 with your friend and mine, Frances Lister, aka Fran Lister, there were some jobs that she had, like selling encyclopedias door to door on German military bases.
That's a job?
That's a yeah. See, it's not. It's it could be. It could work.
What else you got for us?
Oh my! I have to see the next one, and I genuinely don't think I could say it out loud. I think my head would fall off. But I'm gonna try it. Work-life balance, more like work-life banter.
Yes.
When would we have said that? When could we have ever said that?
Maybe if someone tells a funny story from their job, and we could say work-life balance, more like work-life banter.
Okay, I think we've got the 2 recordings there.
Yeah.
Is this resonating with you so far?
No.
Oh. Would you buy a t-shirt with any of these things on?
No.
What about a mug?
Not at all. No, not even
Bookmark?
a little bit. No.
Fridge magnet?
No.
Mouse mat?
Well, maybe.
I think that we should talk about who today's guest is.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
I think we should talk about how today's guest is the actor Robin Harris.
I think we should.
Okay, let's go. Today's guest
Today's
is
guest is
Ro-
Robin
in
Harris.
Reese.
Riss.
Harris
And
Robin,
Robin is a actor,
actor,
and
and
he
he's in
is a friend
a
of
friend of
ours.
ours, and
He
he is
was
an
in a
actor,
an actor,
and
and he was
he's in a
in a,
in
a
a
play.
play. Well, listen out for those catchphrases and enjoy the episode with lovely actor Robin Harris.
So, Robin, if you've listened to the podcast before, then you probably know that we tend to start by asking people something along the lines of, what was their first ever job?
Well, my first ever job sort of doesn't count because I never got paid for it. But I worked for. It was the moment I finished school and started to realize I needed to make some money. So I worked for like a wedding catering thing that some friends from school actually recommended, and I was like, that sounds great. You go along, they tell you what to do, you get paid for it. This is how the world works. And so I rocked up to this converted barn in the middle of nowhere near Bath, where I was from. And this lady was like, "Oh, so are you my new waiter?" And I was like, is that me locked in for the next 10 years? Is this how jobs work? You sort of say yes, and then contractually it's like,
So the
okay,
caste
that's
system, like now you're born into the waiting profession.
exactly. I was like,
You
oh,
just
that's
didn't know
it.
it.
Yeah, who needs uni? You know,
Yeah, she said, I
I'll
had
do
to chat with
weddings.
your parents just before you were born, and we agreed that you were going to be a waiter.
Yeah, I was terrified by it, and she was truly a not very nice person. So I was like, yeah, yes,
So I can
that
shout
is
her out
me.
in case she wants to write in.
I couldn't find her. This is sort of a later part of the story. I have no idea. I don't think she even gave me a real name. So she was like, "Are you my new waiter?" And I was like, "Yes, that's me." And I within 10 minutes I'd broken a giant vase on the table. They had got these they had got these like crafted vases that were like made of wood, this beautiful sort of mahogany on each table. And she was like, "Can you go and remove all the tablecloths? Because they've asked we don't have tablecloths." And I'm like, yeah, I think I can. I'll earn my cash. Pulled up one of the things, one of the tablecloths, wooden vase that costs like 200 quid, falls over, smashes it. I didn't even know wood could smash. Wood
Yeah, I
smashes
was about
everywhere.
to say, I was with you with breaking a vase, but then you said it was made of wood, and I thought, what are you on about?
Welcome to my world, mate. I was as shocked as you. Honestly, it was.
Did you fall through some kind of portal into another dimension? Like this woman, you were never able to contact her. Is that because
I
phone
did.
lines don't travel into the outer realms of existence?
yeah. That's working life. That was my sort of induction to working life. So I broke that. Next thing I know, she's jumped in her like Vauxhall Corsa to go down to like Bradford on Avon to buy a new vase that didn't look anything like the one I had smashed. Anyway, like
Love how
17
you
hours.
specified the make of car, slightly like in a kind of derisive way.
Well, I mean, I love a Corsa, but like in her case, I had to remember all the details I needed because I do the full shift and then I then try and invoice her or try and get some money off her, and she's nowhere to be seen. It was honestly one of the worst work shifts of my entire life. It was like, it must have been about 14 hours long. I'd broken a vase from the off, so she hated me. And then after it, I was like, "Oh, can I have? Do I get paid for that? Was that volunteering? Was that experience work?" And nothing from her. And then like I want to say 4 months later, I got an email from her being like, "Oh yeah, I've got like 60 quid cash for you here at our offices in Bath." And then she gave me this address. My dad drives me to the address, and there's nothing. There's not even a building there. There's nothing there. There's no way the company ever worked there.
What?
There's just absolutely nothing. And she's had me.
That is, in a way, I admire that not only is she not paid you, but then she's thought a few months later, I'm just going to mess around with that guy. I hate to say it, Robin, but is it possible that the vase costs £60?
You know what? You've worked it out. That's it. The vase
Or maybe it costs £70, and she thought it's worth £10 to get you to drive there for no reason.
It'll cost him a tenner in fuel to get over there.
Yeah. At least I'm not driving a
And she dusted
Corsa.
off her hands somewhere else in that parallel dimension and said, "And now the balance is restored."
You know
and then
what?
laughed
You're right.
maniacally.
And laughed maniacally and said, "I've got him." So I
Was
never
it bad
worked
apart
again.
from that?
It
But
was
like the shift after you broke the vase, and then you said there were 14 hours. I mean, in the 14 hours, was that also really bad?
it was horrifying. It was horrifying. I mean, I'd sort of heard how people had talked about work and how bad it was, and I sort of saw that firsthand. It was horrible. Everything went wrong. I don't think the bride and groom are together anymore. By all accounts, it was just a horrible day, but a baptism of fire into the world of work that you don't get paid for, and that you break things and there's no rewards. So that was my first job.
I've become obsessed with the idea of smashing a wooden vase. I have to say that's all I'm going to be thinking about for the rest of this episode, just in the back of my head. Like, how could that?
No, I'm not talking into like millions of pieces. I'm talking into like maybe six,
into any number of pieces,
7 pieces, any number of pieces. But it was enough that it was a write-off.
Because you can splinter wood, you can snap it, but you can't shatter it.
I feel like you're really drilling down on this, Jacob. Isn't
I mean, unless it's that weird petrified wood that it's quite shiny.
Well, it must have been bloody petrified. Robin had dropped it.
I thought we were going to riff around the fact that she hadn't paid me, but no, stick on the wood. That's stick on the wood.
And £60 for 14 hours. That's a weird hourly rate as well. What's that? That's like £4.15,555 recurring per hour or something like that.
If that,
was it exactly £60?
Definitely the figure she sent me was way off what I'd been offered. But I was like, at that point, it was such a long time later that I was like, right, I can go and at least confirm that she did exist and that she wasn't a hologram to make my life horrible.
She's a liar and a thief.
And she's an interdimensional being as well.
And she's an interdimensional being, which makes a difference.
She comes from a dimension where wood can shatter.
Oh yeah, yeah. Still on the earth. Yeah. She comes from a dimension that wood can shatter, and
that's the end of the podcast.
And thanks, there. Yeah, cheers, guys. And then that brings me to now. So I waited for 6 months to then fund traveling. Well, it wasn't traveling. I was going to work in conservation because at that time I was about to go to uni and do biology next year, and so I was like, I'll go into conservation. And I went to the north coast of Kenya, and they've got a conservation centre, and I went and volunteered on the research team for the other half of that year.
And what did you do there?
What did you conserve?
They conserved mainly birds and bugs and people. It was a really, I mean, you can do that, but yeah, through the conservation center and a research center. So a lot of like scientific studies on birds. Oh, and also a lot of marine research, and there's a big coral reef there. But there was a super scheme there. It's called Arosha. The company's called Arosha. My aunt and uncle actually started it up originally back in Portugal in the 70s. So that was sort of my link to the company. And now it's in loads of countries around the world. And the Kenya one, a lot of my family had done. And I thought that would be an amazing experience to do, which it was. One of the projects they did was probably my favorite thing to be involved in there, which was an ecotourism site. So there was a mangrove forest, and people would pay to go on this sort of boardwalk through this mangrove forest. The money made from that would go straight to the scheme, which funded people to go, children to go through local schools. And then the children who would go through those local schools would then often come and work at the centre in Arusha, Kenya, and they would be employed as a researcher at the center. So it was a really cyclical, beautiful,
that is lovely,
project that they still run there. That was the side of conservation I really loved, and the reason why I'm not here talking about why I'm a conservationist nowadays is because I didn't have the brain to be like, do a study on birds and then 10 years into the future see the effects of that. That was why I I think I sort of worked out at that time, conservation is not for me. I think I've got too much of an instant mind. Whereas the people I was working with,
Mm.
they had that forward vision. They had that mindset to be like, this work is going to make a difference in the future. And I found it amazing, but I didn't feel that I was very good at it, even though I enjoyed it.
Are you the kind of person where you want to see like the immediate impact of what you do?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I didn't realize that at the time, but the fact that I enjoyed that projects that worked with local school kids and things like that made me realize that's maybe how my brain is wired and maybe how I can make a difference more than sort of the forward vision stuff. And maybe it's the modern young brain where you need that instant gratification, instant. I don't know.
Were there other young people who did have that kind of mind who were there as well?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, there were. There were. And they were also really good at science and research and ecology, which helps because you can sort of know what it's going to do. Whereas I was there pre studying, I'd just finished my A levels and I was keen to muck in, but didn't realize the kind of impact it would have. And now here we are, like 10 years later now. If only I had known.
Yeah, those
but
birds are going, "Where's Robin? Why isn't he looking at us and writing things down?"
Do you think they are?
Yeah, probably not.
Oh.
Probably in their own way.
They're probably tweeting about it.
Oh, clip that, clip that, clip that. That's great. Clip that. We need that.
So, do you want it clean? They're probably tweeting about it.
Yeah, say it 10 more times. And I'll use the best take.
Jacob. Yeah.
Jacob Old Bean.
Jacob Old Bean. I've had. Sorry. Stop.
So, if you enjoyed drama more, why did you do biology at university?
I don't think I did enjoy drama more. I think I was bad at I loved the acting side of it. I loved doing the practical performances and what's it called? I can't even remember what it's called. Devising
Acting?
pieces in A level. Yeah, devising acting. Yeah. So I enjoyed the devising and all that kind of stuff. But you had to do so much writing and the essays, and I didn't enjoy that side of it because you'd have to analyze why this script was all that kind of stuff, and I wasn't very good at that. And so whereas biology, I enjoyed that more, and so I was like, and also there's that classic thing of a science degree would be better.
Yeah. So hedge your bets in case the acting thing doesn't work out. At least you've got like a nice employable degree.
I don't really know because I definitely wasn't necessarily thinking of going into acting at the time. I thought I'll do a biology degree, and then about
Let's see what
actually
happens.
when I started at Southampton Uni and was doing biology. Quickly, I was doing the sort of acting societies, and in my second year, halfway through my second year, I was like, why aren't I doing this? Why am I doing biology? Like again at uni, you see good people at their courses, and at biology, everyone was so good at biology and at cells and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, fine at it, but I definitely wasn't good at it, and I thought this isn't setting me alight. But then I was doing these plays and musicals and stuff with the acting societies, and I was like, this is completely setting me alight. I'm loving this. This is what I should be doing. And I got that same feeling that I'd had from growing up doing school plays and messing around making plays with my brother or whatever, that kind of thing. And it was just a good realization to have. But I also thought I want to finish my degree.
But I guess it's quite good, isn't it? Because sometimes when you're doing something else as the main thing and then you're doing your passion on the side, it makes you appreciate your passion more. So maybe if you'd gone straight to drama school or done something like that after A levels, you might not have had that same realization that was what you were really passionate about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I don't think drama school straight from school is a great idea anyway, just because it so requires you to be open to feedback and non-defensive. And so when I went to drama school when I was 23, and everyone in our course was that age or a bit older, I found that more helpful because I'm sure that if I went at the age of 18, it would take a good year or two to get out of that mindset of wanting to of finding who sort of finding your voice, finding who you are. It
Yeah.
sounds so pretentious, doesn't it? But I do think it's because at drama school they really tear you apart, and so it's a hard thing to take when you're 18. Whereas when you do 3 years of uni, that does it to you in a more passive way, I think.
What do you think it was with acting, with theatre, that lit that fire in you?
I mean, I've grown up in a family who have theatre at the roots. Like my dad is a theatre director and drama teacher. He's stopped drama teaching now, but that's so I've grown up going to theatre, going to see plays, going to see his plays and that kind of stuff. And so having the chance to do it and then seeing what it's like from the other side, and also just really enjoying it and enjoying adopting a character and playing around with it and messing around with it, I just find it so fun. And then, of course, there's that element of you work on something, you put it in front of an audience. It's similar with comedy for you guys. Suddenly, it becomes alive. It becomes this sort of visceral, living thing, and there's no feeling like it. And then I think also there was, like I was saying, in my second year at uni, I was doing a couple of plays, and then I suddenly thought, oh, okay, I feel confident in what I'm doing, and I feel comfortable with what I'm doing. Whereas with biology, I'd never be able to feel confident in what I was doing. I was sort of working hard and learning the stuff, but I didn't feel I could improvise anything beyond what was in front of me. Whereas with theatre, I felt I could make creative choices and bring ideas to the table. And if you do take biology further, you're going into PhD and research and teaching where you have to bring up new
Yeah.
things. And I don't think I had the brain for that. Whereas with theatre, you can just play around and try out new ideas, which I think suited my brain.
Yeah, because I guess, I mean, I don't know. In my experience, I think that when you, well, there's sort of two. You could be at either end of the spectrum actually, because sometimes, say, you can like watch a film or a play or something and see someone what act or direct or whatever, and you could think, oh, that person does it for a job, and I think I could do that better or as well as that person is doing it. Or there are the people where you see someone who does something that you want to do, but do it so phenomenally well that you can't even comprehend. And that excites you and makes you go, ah, I want to get there, rather than putting you off and going, actually, I don't fancy putting in all of the work into this thing to get to that level. Like for the, for the biology, if you were having that reaction to all these other people who you felt were more into it than you, but then if you'd seen a really good performance in a play or a film, that would have made you think, that would have been inspiring rather than putting you off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's bang on. That's completely it. It was also, yeah, it's also where you aspire to be, and it was at the age where I was starting to see what acting could be, and then thought, okay, that's a skill that I want to develop. But biology, I thought that's an area that I don't think I'm going to get to.
Were there any acting roles that you watched or saw when you were younger that particularly inspired you to want to be an actor?
In truth, I grew up going to my dad. So my dad taught at a school, and I lived at that school with my family. And so,
Oh, really?
yeah, so I would
Oh,
go
wow.
to his plays that he'd put on every year. And legitimately, from the age of 5 until I went to the school, like whatever it was, 13, it was my favorite week of the year because my mum did the makeup for the shows. My dad directed the shows and did all the lighting and sound and stuff. And I'd go to every single dress rehearsal, every single tech rehearsal, and then all the performances. And it was my favorite time. And so a lot of the actors I loved were people that my dad had directed, but they did things like Cabaret and Grease and Nicholas Nickleby and Twelfth Night and Midsummer Night's Dream. And I was just watching these performances, and Sarafina, and every year I thought, this is my favorite one. Oh no, oh great, we've reached it. It's my favorite one. And then the next year would come along and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite one now, and this is the one I'm gonna and then the following year would come about and be like, he's done it again. It's happened. So there was something profoundly next level to the amount of excitement I had for that. And I think I'd always be like, so who are you casting in the lead this year, kind of thing, as if it was like some kind of industry
yeah.
thing. But I did genuinely think they were brilliant. And we've got these old videos of them, and I watched them back, and they still hit me in that way of being like that, those
Wow.
people, and the sets and the music and the bands and the acting, everything about it. I'm like, I do dedicate it to that.
Yeah.
Why I love it so much and why I get that thrill from it. And also the fact that my dad knows the world, knows the industry, that has helped, because he's always been really encouraging and supportive of what I do. So I owe a lot to him with that. Yeah.
I mean, that must have put you in good stead for when you started doing performances at uni, not having that peek behind the curtain at such a young age of watching dress rehearsals, watching tech rehearsals. Because I mean, I know for me, that was all such an alien concept when we started doing that stuff at uni, doing the sketch and improv shows. Sure, for you being able to walk into that and be like, oh, yeah, I've been here before, must have been nice.
Yeah, it was really special seeing how it was done at a uni level, because I went in and auditioned for, in my first year, for Pirates of Penzance. And I was, because I knew the show, and I was like, oh great, this will be really fun to do. And then they were doing it at the Nuffield Theatre in Southampton, and just had the most incredible experience, because it was just, meeting the cast, doing the show, singing the songs. Yeah, I was like, okay, no, I want to keep doing this. But at that stage, I didn't realize that was something I wanted to continue. I just thought this is a really fun society to be involved in.
Right. Yeah.
And then when I did it more, and then I joined the theatre group, and I think it was The Winterling by Jez Butterworth that really made me think, oh no, this is something I really, really want to do. Like, I love this. I love this process. I'm like waiting for lectures to finish so I can get to rehearsals and things like that.
Did you do any jobs while at university?
Yeah. So in the summers, I would go across to. It was when I first went to London. Actually, I was working at the Wimbledon tennis. It was a job that my brother had got for his uni jobs, and he was. I mean, I think I went through the process, but he kind of recommended I did it. It's just a month where you do 2 weeks before the Wimbledon tournament, and then you do 2 weeks at Wimbledon. And you just watch a lot of tennis. It's called court attendant. So you're the people who
Not
wear
ball
the
boy.
sort of, not ball boy, which is, to be fair, the question that everyone asks. And they say, oh, you're a ball boy. And I have to always say, no, the ball boys and girls are children from local schools who train since November to do it. And they are like world class at like throwing balls, collecting balls, distributing balls. Whereas we rock up just on at the tournament and give out towels and watch tennis, and basically mainly there to cover the courts if it rains, because if it rains, I don't know if you've seen, there's people who run on the court, quickly pull across a cover, the crowd claps, and then you go back to your work. But yeah, it was just a great uni job, because I love tennis, I love watching tennis. Because my brother had done it, I got on court one because he had been on court one, and it was I did it for 3 years in a row. It was a lot of fun.
So this is a question we ask everyone, Robin. Who was the most famous person you gave a towel to?
I think I've given a towel to all the big dogs. I think there's,
Really?
because it was court one.
Like Clifford?
I gave a towel to, wow, you've done me. You've absolutely done me there. That's very good. I mean, all the big players. I've given a towel to, and to be fair, held an umbrella for more so, because you have to hold an umbrella while they're chilling out between games. So,
oh right,
Federer was my favorite because he's just beautiful. Djokovic, like as in Shadow of the Sun, not for rain.
That must have been quite a stressful job, though, being around all those famous people and being with all those eyes on you. Because I know, like, I've never really watched tennis, but on the occasions I've watched Wimbledon, I do feel for the ball girls and ball boys. It does look incredibly stressful.
Truth is, for the ball boys and ball girls, that is stressful because you're on screen and stuff. For the court attendants, you're literally sitting watching, And the only moment Jacob's gone, the only moment you've... You're right, Jacob.
Yeah, I just it just wasn't clear whether Jordan was saying that just to annoy you because you'd already stressed that you weren't a ball boy. And I was just laughing because either way it's funny.
I know.
That really got me.
For some reason, which I should never do.
A bit
pissed off. I should never give Jordan the benefit of the doubt, but I did on that occasion, and I thought,
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I think that's what made me laugh.
Genuine.
I thought I'd sideswipe it by saying the ball boys and ball girls do work really hard, but we as court attendants do next to nothing.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Oh, yeah. I see. Yeah,
but that was the first time I've ever cried on the podcast, so no disrespect to the funniness of our other guests, but
oh my goodness.
Do you reckon we can start taking this seriously?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah,
I'm over it.
So Robin, obviously we've covered uni, but what came after that?
So that was when I decided I want to go to drama school. So I took a year off, lived at home in Bath, and I worked for a year at the Uni of Bath. They have it's like a centre of, they're big into their sport. So they have like a centre of sporting excellence. They call it the Sports Training Village. And I was a sports assistant there, which just meant that I was doing anything to do with saying more handing out towels, setting up sports, setting up badminton courts, lifeguarding. It was where British swimming was based. It probably still is based there, actually, there in Loughborough. So like lifeguarding for the British swimming team. So that was probably the most redundant job anyone could ever have.
Yeah. It's just clicked in my head what you just said. It's like, hang on. What
I was just in awe watching how quick they could swim, but never once did I have to jump in and save someone whose job it is to swim.
Did you, if they were ever doing the, where they all start on the side and then they all jump in, would you blow the whistle and be like, "Oi, no diving"?
Not with that form. But the thing is, if they were drowning, like these guys are units, they are solid rock. If they were drowning, I wouldn't be able to lift them out of the pool. I would drown underneath them. And so
they'd have to save you.
They 100%. But yeah, so half the pool was for them, and then half the pool was for like uni swimmers and general swim. But yeah, so there was lifeguarding, there was like hockey pitches. It's the only place where there's like a dry bobsled and skeleton track. So that was quite cool. It's the home of like British bobsled. So they had like bobsled on wheels and skeleton and stuff. So that was cool. And yeah, that was just a great year for sort of working while I was applying for drama school.
What's it like to audition for a drama school? Like what does it tend to be like?
So you'd prepare 2 monologues, a classical monologue, so Shakespeare or Marlowe or something like that. And then you'd prepare a contemporary monologue, which was like anything post 70s, 80s playwright. And then you'd go, and then often they'd only ask you to do one of them. And then they'd talk to you a bit, and then you go home. And then if you're lucky, you get a recall when you've got like that's more of a sort of full day going through your monologues with direction, bit of improv, bit of meeting people. And then a lot of places would do a second recall or even a third recall.
Which drama school did you eventually get into?
I went to a school called Drama Centre, which is in King's Cross, in Granary Square in King's Cross. And yeah, that was my next year, and that was crazy year, but really exciting. 2 months at the end of it. No, 2.5 months at the end of it was in Russia, in Moscow.
What were you doing in Moscow?
We went to a drama school there. So as part of the course, the drama school has a link with an institute, a drama institute in Moscow called the Vakhtangov Institute, which is a drama school there. And we went and did a term of their course there as part of our degree. To give us a different training, to give us a lot of sort of physical theatre training, clowny stuff.
What differences did you find between the drama schools here, the drama schools there that you picked up?
The main differences were they were shorter days there, but they were very intense. So each class was 3 hours long, and they would really work you to the bone in those 3 hours. And then you'd have like 2 of those classes a day, and then you'd be home by like 4 p.m. But you'd just be like processing what's happened in the day, because we'd have at least one stage movement class a day, which basically just means anything that's not speaking, anything that's using your body. And so we learned some moves that in England you would never get past, like safeguarding world. Whereas they're like, yeah, just like put your hands behind your back and just try and roll round and see what happens. If you land on your face, you land on your face. Or like try and get 3 of you to do a forward roll, but all of you are forward rolling at the same time whilst holding onto each other. One's in the air, one's on the floor, one's in the middle, and this kind of stuff. Like it was with these thin,
Sounds like
thin
nursery.
mats. Yeah. It was that kind of thing of bit, and then you'd go and see their shows that they're putting on, and you'd be like, oh, that's what they can do. Like they have no pain receptors.
Right. Yeah.
They can do a backflip without thinking. Whereas in England, I feel like there's more separated things. You know, there's acrobatics, there's acrobats, and there's actors, and there's dancers. Whereas there, it's like, yeah, we do everything. We met an actor who was the lead in 15 shows at the same time. One of them, he was a saxophonist. One of them, he was the lead singer. One of them, he was a dancer. And most of them, he was the actor in. And we said to him, wow, you can do all these things. And he's like, yeah, of course, I'm an actor. That's what you have to do. And we were like, okay, this puts us to shame. This really does. But it was a good lesson to learn of the more sort of strings to your bow, the more likely you are to get some work.
Obviously, you've made drama school sound quite intense. And you said earlier on that you wouldn't advise someone leaving school to go straight to drama school. If there was someone, doing someone at sixth form who was considering or wanted to become an actor, what advice would you give?
Well, I think that was just for me. I don't think I would have been ready for it, but I think a lot of people are ready for it at that age, and a lot of people would be able to at that age. And I think drama school is a good route. It's not the only route into acting, but if you're wanting to go into acting, you can do it at that age. I was more just saying I was glad I think I joined it at the age of 23. Yeah, because I had sort of had
possibly might have been a bit more uncomfortable though, because you said that most other people were around your age then as well. So if you were 18, you might have felt a little bit intimidated. And I guess also you miss out on living in the real world for a bit. Like you could have a gap year where you did a normal job and maybe, experience a bit more of life before going, and that might make you a better actor.
I don't know about making you a better actor. I think it's just that just where you're at in terms of how the teaching is. It's so several times through our course we were sort of told that what we were doing was similar to like therapy in terms of it just taking you back to the core of you, and you have to be very open to feedback and very willing to take rejection. And you make a big choice, you do a big choice in a class and then you're told that that's rubbish. I don't think I would be very good at taking that at a young age, whereas other people are probably are better at that from younger.
How did you fare with the rejection and the feedback?
Well, it was really handy. I was all right with it, but I think it was really handy because you go into the industry and then realize that you're just constantly auditioning and getting rejected. That's just what the industry is. And no matter what level you're at, listen to these guys on these big actors. They're always talking about jobs they didn't get because they've been rejected. So I think drama school is really good. Well, even going back to drama school's applications, getting rejected from them is a really important lesson to learn, because it's not about whether you're good or bad. Often it's to do with they've got to fill a course or they've got to fill a cast of people. If you're right for the cast, then you're likely to get the job. But if you're not right for the cast, which will be the majority of the people that apply or audition, then you won't get it. And that's not something to take personally. But that's a big lesson to learn. I feel like I'm still learning that. But the sooner you learn not to take it personally and take it as good feedback for your sort of your learning how to do your best in auditions, the better. Because if you take rejection badly, then it's a very hard profession to be in, because every time it will knock you down. Whereas if you take it as okay, I wasn't right for that, on to the next one, then you're likely to do better, because it's not personal. It's not personal to me that I am too tall for a part or too small for a part. That's just what I am. And then when I get a job that I get because I was the right height for the part, I don't take that as I was good for it. It's just literally, oh, that was just a lucky moment where I was the right height for it. It's sometimes as sort of shallow and simple as that. And all you can do is the absolute best you can, which is try and nail the audition.
So, Robin, I want to chat to you about a little thing that I saw you perform in the town that I used to live in called Sittingbourne,
Yes.
the Handlebars. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so it was the first sort of big job I had out of drama school, and it was a Shakespeare play, and I auditioned for it. It's called The Handlebars, where you cycle to every venue you're going to, and then you set up the stage. You bring all your costume set with you, and then you set up at whatever venue it is, do the show, go to bed, wake up, cycle to the next place. And that was about 5 months. It was my first big job, and it was
Wow.
still like probably one of the craziest jobs I've ever done.
How many shows did you do? How far around the country did you travel?
We traveled the whole of the country. So we started in London. We rehearsed in London, and then we cycled down to Devon, and then all the way from there up to the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, and then we went up to like sort of above halfway in Scotland, and then back down to London. So I think we cycled something like 1,600 miles in the summer. So you cycle about between probably 20 and 40 miles a day with all your stuff with you, and every single day, probably with one day off a week, you do a show. It's a crazy job. You know about the sort of ins and outs of the job when you audition for it, but it's a perfect job for coming out of drama school, because I was you're basically being paid to do exercise, but then also to have this incredible experience of performing Shakespeare in these beautiful places, castles, windmills, theaters, outdoor theaters. But by the end of that tour, the cycling was sort of almost the easy part, and the hard part was gearing yourself up to perform to people and act as if you hadn't been cycling all day. What was quite a nice nature of that tour was you use the sort of fatigue and energy from a crazy cycle through wind and rain to feed into the performance. We were doing much ado about nothing, and it's multi-rolling because there's only 4 of us in the cast. They had 2 casts out that summer, 4 girls doing The Tempest and 4 guys doing Much Ado About Nothing. And we had instruments, and we were each playing about 4 or 5 characters each. And so you set up, and you're aware that this audience don't know the circumstances of your past few weeks or your past sort of day, and they're just there to see a Shakespeare show. And so you start the show by saying, "Hello, everyone. Today we've cycled exactly," and because of Strava, we'd be able to be like 32 miles, and that would get a little like, oh, most people wouldn't believe us, but we actually would. And then you'd do the show, and it was always a lot of fun. And then you'd finish the show, and because it was often in like small villages that don't get theatre to them, they'd say, "Oh, come and join us for we've got the village's award-winning ham, and come and try it," this kind of stuff. And you'd have a slice of that, and then you'd like chat to these hilarious people in the middle of nowhere, and then you'd go to sleep in an Airbnb or at their house or a hotel, whatever that night was. And then the next morning you'd wake up, inevitably put everything on your bikes, cycle on to the next place, and rinse and repeat for 5 months. It really was
Sounds amazing.
a crazy tour, and I never will have another experience like that. And the other thing that was quite fun about it was how different each show was. So there was one we did in a cider brewery in Somerset called Sheppy's. I think it was Sheppy's House of Cider. And there we were performing in a field, in a sort of orchard. And on one side of the orchard, there were fields with cows in it. And in the other side, there was a field with a bull in there. And so the whole show, they were sort of doing some kind of ritual between each other, mooing to each other. but we're like, this audience has paid the same amount for the show as any other audience has. So let's just do it. And then if a cow interrupts our show, then we just acknowledge it and we reference it, and it makes
Pretend
it for
it's
a
part of it.
unique. Yeah, it makes for a unique show for that audience, and they know that that's not written into the show because we're not cycling cows around the country. And that's what I think is quite special about theatre, is you're in this bizarre situation where you're all expected to be quiet and listen to these people performing shows. So when there's cows involved, it makes it hilarious.
And I suppose as well, with you cycling, it gives you that freedom to get to those out of the way places. Because thinking about it, it probably would have taken you longer if you tried to get the train and then get a bus and a taxi and et cetera, to get to all of these little villages.
Exactly. Yeah. With touring theatre, there's quite a standard route of sort of mid-scale or large-scale theatres around the country where most touring plays go. But with outdoor theatre, you've got that option of going somewhere a bit off the beaten track. Quite a lot of them were sort of national trust properties where you think you've got to the venue and you think, oh, our cycle's over, great. And then you'd then have like a 2-mile entry into the place because it's got this, driveway, that's cobbly driveway that you have to go through to get along there. And yeah, so with the bikes, exactly right, it enables you to go to these fun places, and it's often fun for audience members to see you actually cycle in, because the amount of times you'd finish the show and they'd be like, oh yeah, we loved it, but where's your vehicle, like we know you've actually, and we'd be like, no, we have actually cycled it, I promise you. The figure we gave at the start, which is so far we've cycled 1,200 miles, is real. And
you get on your bike at the
really
end,
fun thing,
and then you cycle into the private jet, which then takes off.
Exactly. Off to Hollywood, baby. Yeah. Yeah, and it's still going. They're touring this summer. Actually, they're doing Comedy of Errors, and they've always got these places they go to that people love seeing them. So yeah, as a first job out of drama school, it was just the most incredible experience, and touring theatre since then has always sort of felt so easy in a lot of ways, in terms of either you're driven there or you drive there and you think, wow, I was cycling these roads. Where did I have the energy for that?
I think anyone listening to this is going to drama school, try auditioning for that afterwards.
Definitely.
So did your next job, that must have been hard to beat, surely, the handlebars job?
It was pretty swiftly after that COVID hit.
Right.
So after being out in the countryside and touring, it was then other sort of future things that I was excited for, and then it was like, oh, COVID. And as an actor, as you saw with people doing Zoom stuff, it wasn't the best time for any job, let alone being a freelancer. So yeah, got kind of refreshed and then got back into it post COVID.
So what did you do during that period?
Oh well, thankfully I did a Lynx advert just before, so that was quite a fun sort of thing to take me into COVID.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was a brutal casting process because I got brought in so many times, and then they kept on saying, I don't think you're going to get it, and then last minute, as always with these things, they said, oh, you're doing it, and you're playing like a sort of young man in a gym who is trying to like get on with this girl in the gym, and then he starts sweating, and then he forms into a gunge ball, and then he falls on the treadmill and gets exploded. And I thought, okay, that sounds quite fun. And then that's sort of the summary of it. And then next thing you know,
how have I never seen this?
I'll show you it. I'll send you it. But then we flew out to Poland. It was in Warsaw, and it was like a week in Warsaw just doing this hilarious job, running on treadmills. I had like a stunt double who did all the falling stuff, although there was one where I had to like fall onto a crash mat, and it was good. And then we were like, okay, let's try this angle. Okay, the lighting wasn't right. I had to fall onto this crash mat off this treadmill probably about 25 times, not even kidding. And then because I was like going to this like gunge ball, I had to be covered in this sort of gunge that was sort of ultrasound fluid, and I had these two Polish girls and this massive Polish guy, this bulky Polish guy, between takes, just covering me from head to toe in this gunge, sort of thick,
Like
sort of
Dick and Dom.
fluid. Yeah, literally, but like thicker, so that it would stay on my face and stay on my body. And then I'd do it, and then
Yeah.
I'd fall over, and they'd say, "All right, back up. Okay, get him in." And then he'd be there with his massive bucket, and then just like spread it on my face. So that was a fun week. It got made just as COVID was starting. As they were about to release it, they actually released the first advert of the campaign. And I was like, oh, okay, great, that's coming up. And then my advert, because of all the fluids that are involved, of course, it meant that it's not COVID friendly, because fluids at that point was a worry.
What?
And because it was
But
going to
isn't it
be released in the
sweat?
US first. Well, anything
Isn't that
that
the
was
point?
fluid based wasn't used for advertising campaigns. Anything that, because there's a bit where I like turn to her and I like flick like sweat onto her and that kind of stuff. Anything that's like contagious. And so it basically got this bizarre email from this
Oh,
PR
right,
agency
okay.
between them and Lynx, and said that oh, it's unlikely we're going to release this advert while COVID's going. We're going to release it in like May. It'll be out in a few months. And then they sent me the advert, and the advert was just so fun because these, they'd added all the CGI and special effects and stuff. And I was like, oh, please say it does. And then as COVID went on, it just was looking less and less likely, because it was just the least COVID friendly advert you've ever seen. So I put it on my show reel. So I mean, feel free to watch it on my show reel, but I don't think it ever made it to air. I think they said something about it going to like Mexico or something, but I never saw the fruits of it. So after lockdown sort of chilled out, I was then back into a bit of touring theatre. I did a version of Robin Hood, and then sort of screen work seemed to get on its feet a bit quicker than theatre work. So I enjoyed getting a bit of screen experience. I played a young C.S. Lewis in a story about the friendship between C.S. Lewis and Tolkien. Which was really exciting, and it's looking like it's going to be. So we did the pilot for it, and then we're looking into like making more of it. But I got to play the sort of young version of C.S. Lewis in that, when he's sort of in World War I. So that was really fun, because I was rolling around these trenches and sort of getting bombs exploded behind me and all this kind of stuff, which was something I'd never been able to film before. So that was quite a lot of fun.
That's really cool. This might be completely wrong, but I have it in my head that you're distantly related to C.S. Lewis. Is that right? Or has someone just completely made that up?
Yes, well remembered. Yeah, I am actually. My a sort of family relative is a historian, and he sort of worked out the sort of family tree, and then far back I'm related to C.S. Lewis, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
If that is nepotism that got me the role, then great. More than
Fair
happy
enough,
for
in
that
that
to be
case.
the thing. Yeah, absolutely. Take what you can with this kind of thing.
So after that, well, I guess it's not necessarily finished, but after you did that particular job, what was next?
I was again filming a young version of a character. I've been playing a young George II, and that's hopefully coming to TV screens soon. But again, I seem to be playing the young version of characters. You've got to rinse that for what it's worth. So they'll be like, okay, we've got these characters who are the leads, but what about when they were 12? So that's when I seem to get my work. So I'm playing a young George II, who was there's a series about sort of the first four Georgian kings. So that's been really interesting, and that's coming out soon. Most things are very long in post-production. So a big thing I found the difference between theatre and screen is theatre, you've got that instant impact of you do the show and that's a moment, and then you share that with people, and then it's gone, and then you never talk about it again. Whereas screen, you do it in front of a room of people who aren't really paying attention to you, and then you might see the fruits of that like years later. So in terms of the like instant gratification thing, the screen and theatre feels so different, and it's such a strange difference, and it shouldn't affect your performance, but it definitely affects how you sort of look at the job afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you're trying to just stay truthful to what you're doing in that second, then that's sort of the best you can do.
how do you want your career, like what would your ideal career in acting be? Like what kind of acting would you like to move into, or do you just want to do anything and everything and see where it goes? Or
I think because a lot of people ask that, I think I seem to always have like a bit of a sort of series of short-term goals. Like there's a couple of theaters I think are absolutely beautiful, and one day I'd love to perform at them, and a couple of directors I'd really love to work with. Um, there's a theater in Angel called the Almeida Theater, which is just everything I go to watch there is just stunning and wonderful. And I've never had the chance to work there. And at some point, it would be a total privilege to be there. That's one short term goal. And then there's a couple of theatre companies and directors I like to work with, but also screen wise, because it's fairly new to me since COVID. There seems to be a lot of big production houses nowadays, and it'd be lovely to continue doing this screen work and finding new avenues in that world, and keep on getting people to employ me as the young version of characters. I don't mind that. If that's the role, I'll take it. Like that's fine. Like that's nice. But it's a big saturated industry. So in a lot of ways, my goal is to just try and keep being employed in it. Because there's a lot of actors and not that many jobs. So the idea would just be to keep working on it and keep trying to get better at it.
Yeah. So Robin, what have you got coming up at the moment?
So this week I'm filming a TV job, which is quite interesting. It's a modern retelling of the Book of Acts in the Bible. It's a production studio called Angel Studios. They did a series called The Chosen, and this is their next thing, but it's been filmed in England. And I'm just playing a small part in it, but I'm playing like a Roman soldier, but like a modern version of the Roman soldier. It's quite cool. So I went for this fitting for it the other day, and I've got this costume, and it looks a bit like a sort of dystopian version of what a soldier might be. But I'm really excited to get on set and see how that will look.
Oh, that's cool. So where is it supposed to be set, or what time and where is it supposed to be set?
Well, so it's effectively if the Roman Empire was still in power nowadays,
Right.
and how that would affect sort of politics and life in today's modern age. Yeah, it's really cool. Obviously, the Roman Empire were entirely hated at that time, so I don't think I'll be a particularly liked character. But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Robin,
Jordan,
can you just hold my hand for a second?
not as clammy as I thought it might be.
Yeah, no, I'm locked in right now. I'm not nervous like you, because I want to take you into a different world, a different reality, a dreamscape, if you will. And myself and Jacob here, we want to craft and weave a fantastical and magical career for you. There is no limit. There is nothing outside of the realms of possibility here. But firstly, we need something to base this on. So if you'll indulge me for a second, do you already have an existing dream job?
I didn't ever want that question to end. I was sort of flying high, just enjoying it. It was like, those sort of like things you can listen to get you to like to sleep or into like a happy place. I was just like, this is beautiful. You're a pro, mate.
Like whale
You're
song.
a pro. Yeah, it was like whale song. I have a dream job in mind. Yeah.
Well,
Bit
I'd love to hear it.
confrontational, but okay, we'd like to hear it.
Sorry, I got aggressive.
Oh, I know. Sorry, I
got
noticed
aggressive.
you've tightened the grip on my hand a bit there, Robin.
Yeah. Sorry.
as you've said that, yeah.
So there was an advert that came up about 6 years ago on Somerset Live tabloid online paper that said you can get paid 50k a year to test water parks. Right? No, listen up. I thought when that came up, I genuinely considered dropping everything. I thought that. So I've always. Oh my gosh! Jesus.
I love
I've-
it. I love it
I've,
so much.
I've always loved water parks. Like, that is such an exciting day when you're a kid or a 29-year-old adult. And
Yeah,
I thought to be
absolutely.
paid to go around the world and go on slides and then have to write a little write-up of, yeah, that was fun. And then 50K a year. I mean, that just sounds glorious. And I think I can't think of any other dream job that anyone on your podcast could say other than that once they know about it. But I thought, that is me. See you later, guys. I'll be in Wet and Wild in Atlanta.
Now, I'm wondering if we can bring in an element that we discussed earlier on around your ecology and conservation. I wonder if you would be interested in not only doing that role, but then also perhaps reviewing the ecological impact that those water parks were having on their surrounding area. How do you feel about that?
I feel that I've just fallen in love with you saying that. That's so lovely. Are you free? Are you free? Are you free tomorrow? I think it's actually a really good point, simply because these water parks. I mean, I haven't been to like millions, but I have been to like quite a lot, simply because I did love it so much growing up. And I do think that they're always like theme parks. They're always in a place that is a bit off the beaten track. They're often a bit out of the way. And I think maybe they do go into areas of natural beauty. So I think there's definitely an argument for combining those two factors. And also, if you think about it, there's a lot of water they're using for those things because they're flushing it through each slide. It has to be lubricated for you to be able to slide down it. And so it's going through the whole time. I think they use crazy amounts of water. So I think there's studies to be had. Let's leave it at that. No, let's carry on, but let's leave it at that.
I mean, I slightly worry that might take away some of the childish joy of it, though. If you're, because on the one hand you're enjoying a lovely water park, but then creeping in is the sense of, am I damaging the environment?
I mean, yeah, I think it goes back to like instant gratification thing. A water slide, you go to the top of it and then you slide down it. There was one of the most memorable ones I've been on is one where you stand in this, like, it looked like a rocket, and then the floor just disappears and then you just like go down this like death slide. And there was a guy at the top of it who was just an absolute prankster, another dream job. And he would do this, he'd have the button and then he'd be like, right, you guys ready? Okay, 3. And then he'd press the button as if it was like 3, 2, 1. He'd press the button and you'd be gone. And they would just like added to it. And he was just laughing every I think there's like YouTube videos of guys who do this. And I think that like there's a lot of room for improv there and comedy.
Yeah.
In terms of like childish wonder, I think, yeah, I could see it happening. Would if I'm thinking I'm on that slide and then, is there like some birds who are in trouble because I'm sliding on this?
And they age by 10 years magically in the space of a few seconds, and you could just quickly note down what's going on.
Exactly.
Well, I was thinking actually that, this is a dream. And so let's take away any hint of the parks actually doing harm. Because I think what you might be doing is you're going around to the water park, having a lovely go on it. And while you're there, you're maybe putting something in the water. That means that when the water goes back out into the environment, it becomes magically beneficial for all the life around it. Maybe you're putting Miracle Grow in the water. You know, that stuff that you put on flower beds.
Oh, like Richard Jackson's Flower Power.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's a very good product for your plants.
Yeah, so you can be going down the slide, and then you've got a little box, and you're just going and just dropping some of that into the water, and then the water becomes even more wonderful and life-giving than water already is.
So not only am I reviewing the slides, I'm actually improving the water quality.
Undercover.
And I'm undercover bringing good things so that people will be going on the slide and they think they're having fun, but actually they're accidentally drinking happy juice. Have I missed what you were saying? No, I know what Miracle Grow is.
It's happy juice for the plants, I guess. Let's assume it has no effect on the humans.
But I don't want Miracle Grow because I don't want there to be plants growing accidentally, right?
Well, no, Jacob was saying that the area surrounding the water park, when the water's recycled out of the park, it then benefits the environment around the water park.
Yeah, because like you were saying that it's in it's
sorry.
places off the beaten track. Maybe the water, maybe, well, I'm sure it's recycled as well, but some of it dribbles out into the surrounding environment. Land that is maybe arid.
I thought you meant on the slide. Okay.
Oh, no. Well, that would be quite nice, because you could have maybe on the outside bit that humans aren't actually touching, you could have nice like vines and things growing up, couldn't you? Like on the outside of an old house. That would make it look quite nice.
That's nice.
Nature and humanity living in harmony.
Yeah, yes.
You accept that aspect of the job? Good.
I think it's great. I think some kind of
probably
positive impact. Yeah.
Yeah, what would probably be handy as a side effect is you are a trained lifeguard, so it'd probably just be handy to have you around in the water park.
If there are any birds drowning, then you can save them.
Or any other sort of creature. But I feel like,
or humans,
as a visceral sort of joy giver, I don't think you see joy in anywhere more than a water park, because people always finish those slides and they're like, ah. Whereas I feel like theme parks, there's still people who are like, I don't want to do it, it's scary. Water parks, it's like, well, then just go and stand by the bit where you get splashed with water, or go on the what's the lazy river and just sit on a tube for ages and go around in a circle.
Yeah.
Like that is.
Oh my gosh, I really want to go to a water park now. I haven't even thought about water parks for about 5 years.
Do you know what? Best water park in south of the UK is very near, I think, where
Splashdown.
Yes, I was going to say near you. Splashdown,
yeah.
Bournemouth, Dorset.
Yeah, Splashdown.
Splashdown is
good fun for everyone. yeah. That's the catchphrase, and no lie was told.
Can we all go to Splashdown together? Genuinely.
Oh, I'd love that.
You say this, I've already got provisionally booked in for the summer with my mates who I work with. We're all going to go to Splashdown. So. But I would happily go again, because it is flume good fun.
Mate, honestly, come along. My rate is very low for reviewing it.
Yeah, my mum, I've for a while worked at Centre Parks when I was about 16 to 18, the Centre Parks in Longleat, or by Longleat. And the best bit about that was that we got to go to the water park there for free, even though we weren't staying there. We took advantage of that perk.
Incredible.
Nice. So, Robin, is there anything that you feel is missing from this dream job at this point?
I mean, I have said that everything is sort of sorted out. So in a way, the dream employer, is sending me to, I don't know, there's a lot of good ones in like near where Disneyland's, those kind of things are. So if they send me there and say, okay, as long as we get a good review, we'll sort you out with a little pop into Universal Studios. We'll sort you out with, a double go on the rocket ride of Rocket Flume, whatever they're called. Like, and I'm guessing you're getting queue jump with this, because you're like, you've got a notepad in hand, right? Yeah. You've got a laminated notepad in hand and a Sharpie. Like, there's no doubt that they'll be like, yeah, put them through, because you're writing notes as you're riding the Flume.
Yeah. But the only notes you're writing is just the number of stars, and you're just writing star,
you're just writing going stars up as you're riding. And then you have the like come down of the adrenaline. You're like, that wasn't actually that good. I was just buzzed on the adrenaline.
You rub out some of them.
Yeah.
No, all of the notes are just you writing wee.
But instead of E's, it's stars.
Yeah. And I just send
like
that to the reviewers, and they're like, why are we paying you for this? I don't know. I feel like, I mean, the downside of this job is you're away from your family. I've got a beautiful family. I've got a beautiful niece and nephew. If you're away for a long period of time, I think one big part of it would be I go away to a water park for a bit and then I come back. Maybe, here's an idea. I'm cycling to these places.
I think I
Yes. Just go on.
I was just about to say, well, don't worry, because your family are cycling behind you the whole way.
You've got the tandem. Lovely. You've got the 5-person tandem, or however many you need.
Yeah, maybe that's the solution.
I think this is your dream.
It's all entirely There's no petrol involved. I'm just cycling to these places. I'm swimming across the oceans because that's a water park of its own. I'll review the Atlantic. Don't worry
It
about
is.
that.
In a way, the Atlantic is the original water park. I'm always
Nature's water
saying that.
park. The more weirdly, the more I talk about it, the more I do think that's my dream job.
Yeah,
well, I want you to, Robin, I want you to close your eyes for a minute, and I want you to picture this dream job. So you're cycling on your long tandem with your family in tow, and you've pulled up to, let's use Splashdown as an example, and you've got the Gala Bingo there a couple of doors down. You've got the KFC opposite. It's in Tower Park, and you walk in. The smell of the chlorine hits you immediately. You've got the notepad and the pen in hand. You've got the lanyard round your neck with your face and your name on it. You walk over and you say, "It's me. I'm here. I'm here to review." And they go, "Oh, right this way, Mr. Harris." And you're wearing a tux, which is actually one of those tuxes that's attached by Velcro. And then as you step through, you rip it off to reveal your swimmies underneath and your armbands. And you say, "Let's flume." And then you put your sunglasses on and you step through, and you can hear the laughter of children, the water splashing and running around. And you spend all day fluming around, taking notes, writing "wee" on your notepad. And then you leave and you say, "As you were." And you step back out and you say, "Harris's, let's roll." and you get onto your tandem and off you go to the next park. How does that sound?
Jordan, I'm in South London. I'm in Streatham, and you have transported me to heaven. I'm there. I'm happy. That is where. Let's do this podcast in another 10 years. Let's see what we talk about. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what tales I have to tell. That was truly. I'm going to give you a standing O for that. That's just that.
Oh, stop it.
I can't think of anything better. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Oh,
Perfect.
well, should we shake on it?
Shake, shake,
Shake,
shake.
shake, 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 shake.
A
Congratulations.
beautiful shake.
When can you start?
How's your 2025 looking? I'll start Jan 1st, 2025.
It's a deal.
I think we can make that work, yeah. Well, listen, Robin, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And thank you for taking the time out to chat to us. We hope you've had fluming good fun.
Guys, your podcast is so great. I've absolutely loved listening to it, and long may it continue. It's been a total pleasure being a part of it. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you so much.
Well, what a lovely poddy. And yet another dream job that I have realised since we recorded that episode that I really want now.
Yeah. And I'm also will be genuinely annoyed if we don't end up going into a water park in real life in the summer like we said we would.
Oh, yeah, we need to. We need to
But
go
I will
to
be genuinely
Splashdown.
upset if that doesn't happen.
We need to go to Splashdown. This episode is not sponsored by Splashdown, but it is in Poole. It is in the Tower Park estate, and it is fluming good fun for everyone. If you're in the Southwest, or I would say anywhere in the UK, get yourself down there. It's bloody brilliant. But go in the summer, because that's when they open the outdoor bit. And that is the best bit, because that's where the fastest flumes are. So,
And to book your tickets, go to www.81 takeaway 7.
.ru. Listen, that was a good episode, and you learned all about the world of acting and how one would get into something like that. But we wanted to draw your attention to some other episodes that might interest you, because we've had some bloody good guests on, haven't we, just Jacob?
We have, yeah, some real corkers.
Yeah. You know, if you wanted to learn about being a doctor, for example, then you want to check out episode 8 with Dr. George Cook. If you wanted to learn about the world of journalism, you've got episode 10 with Anil Dawar. We've got loads. The world of TV and media and news. We've got episode 13 with Alex Matthews.
Yeah, we've got intimacy coordinator Lucy Fennell on episode 3. If you want to know what that means,
job?
if you want to, oh gosh, what have we done? If you want to find out what that means, go and listen to episode 3.
Teaching assistant.
Teaching assistant.
Episode 14, Abby Edwards.
We're so good at remembering what number episodes are what.
Yeah. You want to learn about how to make a business, how to get into the creative self-employed world? Well, that's the episode just before this one. That's episode 16 with Tessa Sterling from Perth.
Yeah, and if you're looking forward to Christmas already, go and listen to episode 9, which was our 2023 Christmas special with Santa Claus Paddy Hanrahan.
So there's too much good stuff out there.
No disrespect, by the way, to anyone we didn't just mention. We're just doing this off the top of our heads. We didn't, we didn't prepare this.
Listen to all of them over and over and over again. They're all fantastic episodes. We're building up a library of jobs here, a library of careers. And you might think to yourself whilst you're listening, work-life balance, more like work-life banter. Wouldn't you say, Jacob?
Yeah, you might say that out loud to yourself in the mirror 3 times, and a demon will appear behind you.
And he'll say... Oh, check us out on social media as well. We're expanding our global empire of social media, and we'll be coming to a phone, tablet, or laptop near you very soon. And give us a like, give us a rate on any platforms that you listen to us on, because that will really helps the podcast. And tell your friends, tell your family. And if you've got anyone in your life that you think would be interesting to talk to, who's got an interesting career, why not let us know? Why not drop us an email at info@funkle.productions. Funkle is FUNKLE.productions.
.ru.
.ru.gov.uk.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to say good riddance.